Hi, everybody. Welcome in. Hope you all can hear me okay and see me okay. We're watching the end of Seahawks and Steelers to begin the episode today. A little bit later than expected, but hey, the game was pretty good. So, excited to join all of you here today watching the game with you all. So, I'm just going to chill, watch the game. I don't really look too much at the stream, so my apologies if the quality is good or anything, but we should be okay. In terms of quality and everything else, did some adjustments to some of the audio and video settings for today. So here we go. Tough run there by Travis Hunter. That's been some of the interesting parts about this game. Is it feels like kind of like those early 2000s football games a lot. Second and 14 here for Seattle at the 45-yard line, close to the 50-yard line here. 8 minutes to go in overtime. Good catch over the middle of the field. Nice catch by DJ Dallas. Third down. I might be a little bit behind. Again, my apologies if any stream glitches. I'm not going to look at the stream right now. Just because we want to watch the end of this game, so I'm not going to look at it directly right now. But once this is over, I'll look at the stream and we'll kind of start going through everything. So my apologies if any qualities mix up, any audio is not where it needs to be. We're going to take care of that after the game finishes. What a sack. What an absolute sack by TJ Watt. He's been a menace all night, and he just got probably the biggest play of the game right there. All right, Seattle's got to punt this ball away here, and here comes Big Ben Roethlisberger. Look at him coming off the edge here. Look at this. DJ was supposed to block him, or at least he was probably supposed to help there. Probably, I think he was running a route, but still, I don't think there's much you can do to help deal with TJ Watt. What did he make? 190 million in his new contract. Oh, well worth the money. Here's Ray Short. And here comes Big Ben Roethlisberger, 39 years old, leading this offense out onto the field. The next score wins the game. .6:31 left on my stream at least. The Steelers start exactly at the 20-yard line. Here we go. Pretty good run. Najee Harris has been able to really turn out some really good 5, 6, 7-yard runs in this game. That's really what he's able to do well in this system. He's still trying to learn how to get those big runs for first downs, but he helps this offense really truck down the field through these short yardage gains, 4, 5, 6 yards. He just really helps set this offense up for success in less than 10-yard situations on second and third down. And there's Freiermuth again. He's been a big impact player for the Steelers. Third down and about 3, I think. Third and 4. There's DK hoping to get another shot. Najee gets moved out. Here's a 4 wide receiver set for Big Ben. Blitz. Oh, nice tackle. Absolutely phenomenal tackle by number 22 of the Seahawks, Brown. I don't know if we've seen much of him tonight, but he made a crucial play on third down, and the Steelers got to punt the ball away. Look at this play by the rookie Brown. Look at this. Goes back. He was supposed to guard Claypool, but comes back and absolutely demolishes. I think that's DJ. I think that's Deontay Johnson. He absolutely smashes him. Great awareness. Nice punt there too. 4:27 to go in overtime. Look at this play. I mean, what a shot. Nice hit on third down. That's crucial, man. That's Ray McLeod. My apologies, number 14. Sorry, mixing up the numbers here. But this is amazing awareness. He's supposed to guard Claypool the whole way, sees Ray in the flat, and absolutely runs up and tackles him. That is perfect awareness for a corner or a safety. That's exactly how you're supposed to play that. Cover the sticks, and he did exactly that. Okay, first down and 10. Again at the Seahawks 20 for Seattle. Geno's running and gets whopped and is stripped. And it's stripped out for at least for the moment. It was stripped out. Man, Geno's not a running quarterback. He shouldn't be trying to do that. And that's probably going to be the game. Wow. That was a really terrible decision. Yeah, he needed to get out of the pocket, but get out of the pocket and move to your right. You don't have to run it, especially when it's TJ Watt barreling at you, and he makes the play of the game right there. There was no reason for Geno to do that. In that situation, yeah, you got a bunch of guys rushing at you, but that hole's not open when you're Geno Smith. He's not a running quarterback. He shouldn't be doing that. And then TJ, of course, your thought as a defensive lineman to pop the ball out. And he does exactly that at the right moment. Defense, once again, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, this defense can always come out at any moment, and it starts with TJ Watt. He has been impactful, sacking the quarterback somewhat, but mostly blocking the ball from going anywhere. And right there, he gets the crucial play. And they're just going to kick this. They're just going to kick this. Big Ben lies down in the center, and here's Chris Boswell for the game winner. Bad move by Geno Smith. Oh, and they're kneeling here. They should have just kneeled beforehand. But again, I guess that makes sense. So they wanted Big Ben to lay down so that it's center, and then they kneel to make it even more center, I guess. So look at TJ. He's got like 3 guys on him here. Excuse me. He's got like 2. No, you wouldn't think he had 3 guys on him. He had 2 guys on him, and he still was able to track Geno Smith for that fumble. Amazing. Wow. Absolutely phenomenal. Chris Boswell, and that's the game. 37 yards, pretty much right down the middle. Pittsburgh gets the win on Sunday Night Football, keeps their season alive pretty much. 23-20 in overtime. Huge play by TJ Watt, impactful player the whole night, the main impactful player for the Steelers defense, finds a way to get the win. All right, I'm going to check the stream right now before we get into the rest of the Sunday games. I'm just going to go through all of them. All right, so I'm just going to have to move this up a little bit. Well, let me see if I can also... All right, so I'm just going to have to move this up a little bit. All right, actually, I think we're good. I'm just going to move up my view to make sure that you guys can see me clearly here towards about the middle of the screen. So I'm going to make sure that you guys see me easily. Let's see if I can also switch some of the inputs so you guys can just hear me instead of the speakers. So let me go and do that really quick. I can hear some of the background noise in the stream, so let me see if I can quickly adjust that for you all. Audio. I'm going to do the desktop audio into this. So let's see if that's a little bit better. Hopefully you all can hear me okay still. So let's see if that's a little bit better. Yeah. Hopefully you all can hear me okay still. All right. Just going to make sure that this is set correctly. All right, that should work. It's not perfectly centered, but it should be okay for now. Thank you all for joining us on this Sunday post show. Brandon might join us a little bit later. I know Shane's out with a sickness, so let's see, maybe I can move it a little bit more now I'm looking at it. Just a little bit more to this side, potentially. We are finally really adjusting the stream a lot better. Let's see, maybe I can move it a little bit more now I'm looking at it. Just a little bit more to this side, potentially. Tinker around with this. Really adjusting the stream a lot better. Okay, perfect. That should work fine. You can see me a bit here on the left side of the screen. So let's go through NFL Sunday. We'll start with the Jags and Dolphins from London, England. This game was fun. Both quarterbacks played extremely, extremely well throughout the morning hours here in the West Coast. The Jags took up their first win, and what was it, 30-some games? They pick up a huge win. But look at the quarterback stats for both of this. Tua, 33 of 47, 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And then for Trevor Lawrence, 25 of 41, 319 and a touchdown. This is the best game Trevor Lawrence has played in his pro career so far, and it shows with a win. Honestly, in the first half, the biggest takeaway I had was that Jacksonville kept putting themselves in really bad short yard situations. 41, 319 and a touchdown. They kept putting themselves in long yard situations. Just checking the stream one more time. They put themselves in bad long yard situations due to flags, penalties. We'll get to a bit of those penalties with the Cowboys as well, but that was a huge issue for Jacksonville in the first half. They seem to kind of turn it around. These are two really bad overall teams. This Dolphins defense, you're talking about in the broadcast, couldn't really tackle well for most of the night. That was a huge thing. That was affecting them and plaguing them throughout the night. Actually, now I'm looking at it, I can move myself a little bit more to the right side for you all. But, I mean, let's see. But in general, like, that is the biggest difference. Both of these defenses are not very good. It showed. And, when it comes to Trevor, like, he's going to struggle against all these defenses. Tua has struggled against a lot of defenses across the NFL. And now, when you look at these two teams, what you're seeing is what you're getting. Two bottom-end NFL teams with barely any defense to offer. And because of that, these are two offenses that can really do a lot and showcase themselves, particularly Tua and Trevor, who's still trying to kind of get their feet wet under them in the National Football League, more specifically Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor ended up having a good game. Not too remiss for that. But at the end of the day, I don't know how much you can value a win like that when and showcase themselves, particularly Tua and Trevor. I don't know how much you can value that when you're looking at a Dolphins defense that isn't that top 5 unit it was last year. And same with the Jags defense that's going to be pretty bad all year. There's not much to really write home about with those two teams other than, offensive showcases, things to build on for both of those rosters. But how much building are they really going to do when they play more quality opponents? I'm not sure if there's much there with those two teams. Moving forward from London, we go back to the games here in the U.S. The 10 o'clock hour was a fairly boring hour, honestly, across the National Football League. The Chiefs pick up a pretty easy win against Washington. Washington should have scored a lot more points than they ended up scoring simply because they just kept getting field goals. I mean, Heineke should have played a lot better in the red zone to get these guys touchdowns, and they just didn't do it. They just kept getting stalled for field goals, and I think ultimately that made a huge difference. This is a Chiefs defense that isn't very good. Washington just didn't capitalize, did not get in the end zone, and you saw a little bit of what the Chiefs should be able to do consistently offensively in this game towards the fourth quarter when it was over, but the interceptions were a problem. We had another tip pass, or not tip pass, but an offensive player tipping the ball essentially to a defensive player in this game again, which cost Patrick Mahomes an interception on a stat line. Patrick Mahomes also threw, instead of taking a sack, he just threw the ball up for grabs, and a defender just grabbed it. So this wasn't a perfect game for this Chiefs offense. I don't think people are necessarily wrong after watching this game, looking at some of the kinks that they're having. They are having problems, certainly offensively. They're still trying to sort of, I guess, get their feet wet, maybe. I don't really know. They seem to be sort of, I guess, figured out by defenses, but I can't even entirely say that. I think I'm starting to get more confused by this offense than actually feeling positive about them, which is a very strange feeling. We're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. So, moving forward when it comes to Kansas City, you're looking at a group that can be super productive offensively, but didn't do it until the fourth quarter. they need to play like that if they're going to get to a Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, you're not going to play teams that are just going to stall for field goals all day. And we keep talking about this with the Chiefs. This is their theme. This is what they are. They're an offense that has the ability to be prolific. But that defense, if it's any other team almost any other team today, they would have been in a much tighter game. They might have been lost because Washington just kept getting stalled all the time. That's not something that you're going to see this Chiefs defense deal with. They are going to not be able to make stops very often. In red zone situations, that's going to put Patrick Mahomes and this offense in a bind. All week, we were talking about this Chiefs offense. I'm starting to think it's somewhat warranted because if you look at the first half of this game, you would say that this offense really isn't where it needs to be. And the second half, you kind of got what you needed. But, yeah, I think that this offense is now Patrick said that it isn't. I still think that it is. I think they're putting pressure on themselves to score a lot of points. Because they know this defense isn't really good, they are going to have to score a lot of points. That pressure is very much warranted. But that pressure is causing a lot of mistakes. A lot of unforced turnovers, a lot of nerves, a lot of just boneheaded mistakes that we've seen this week from the Chiefs in that first half, but also a little bit last week that I kind of wrote off. And I don't think we should write it off. I think it is somewhat of a legitimate problem. They are just making really bad offensive decisions, and there were moments in this game like the tip ball, but more specifically Mahomes just throwing it up for no reason. They seem to just think that they need to score on every drive. And they have the capabilities to do that, but they're not going to do that, right? This is the NFL. You're not going to score on every drive. Even if you have the best offense in the world, which they do, it doesn't really matter. You're not going to score on every drive. Even if you think you have the capabilities to because of guys like Tyreek Hill on the outside who was hurt today, Travis Kelce, you're just not going to be able to consistently do that. And it's a cause for concern. Like Washington, again, they just got field goals all day. But most teams are not going to get field goals. Most teams are going to find a way to score. So, yeah, this offense is certainly a concern. They're playing to being scared about what that defense is going to do instead of just playing their game and playing calmly. They seem to be playing with too much energy, too much aggressiveness. They need to calm down and just play their game. And they did that in the second half. They need to continue to do that if they're going to be successful moving forward offensively. Vikings and the Panthers, this was a weird one. This was a bizarre one. I think that the Panthers are at a really different spot than they were earlier in the year. Sam Darnold made, some pretty bad interceptions in this game. I don't really know what to make of the Panthers right now. They seem to be wanting to be Super Bowl ready, right? Picking up Stephon Gilmore a couple of weeks ago. But if you're going to be honest about Carolina, you're probably going to say that there isn't entirely much to write home about after the last 2 weeks. And I don't know necessarily if Darnold's a long-term answer. There's some question marks there. This team feels like right now at 3-3, a question mark team, going 3-0 and losing their last 3. They seem to be going on a down slope. And a lot of that goes back to what Sam Darnold's capabilities are. And I think it's definitely a cause for concern. As for Minnesota, they might be the best 3-3 team in the entire National Football League. And I don't even think that's an exaggeration. Their offense is really, really good and really, really fun to watch on a weekly basis. When I watch the Vikings, I just want to look at their offense. I want to look at what Kirk Cousins is doing. And every time I watch a Vikings game, I'm like, all right, A+, A+, A+. This is something to build on. And I keep watching them thinking, okay, they're 3-3, but to me, they're a wild card team. And whoever they play in the wild card is going to have a whirlwind of a tough day with this offense. The guy who got the game-winning pass, KJ Osborne, a guy who no one, probably even outside deep league fantasy circles, has really been talking about. He's continue to be impressive. He's the perfect wide receiver 3 for this offense. And now you look at, Justin Jefferson, who's clearly taken over the wide receiver 1 role in Minnesota. You look at, obviously, Adam Thielen had a much better game today. And then KJ Osborne, you're like, okay, Kurt has a lot to work with in this offense. And Mike Zimmer has let the training wheels off. Keeps saying this every week, but yeah. This offense is something really, really special and fun. And they look like a wild card team even at 3-3. A team that can jump in the wild card and give anyone trouble in the NFC. Chargers, Ravens. Right now, I think it's fair to say that the Ravens are the second best team in the AFC. They are not the first best team. That goes to the Buffalo Bills. We explained reasons why the Buffalo Bills play tomorrow night against the Titans. The Baltimore Ravens, right now, have a really, really unique style of offense that is starting to impress me. Like, it's starting to become something that I can't just brush off to the side like I have for the last month. They look like a roster to me, or they look like an offense to me, with not only Lamar running the football, but Freeman, Le'Veon Bell, who I think were kind of the core that we saw today from the Ravens offense. Whoever is their running back on a play, and Lamar Jackson, it's always a threat. They're not a passing offense. They're just not. They can't be. Right? Hollywood Brown missed another big drop today, which we've talked about over the last couple of weeks. If you look at Baltimore right now, and you say, okay, this is a negative when it comes to the playoffs, I'm not sure if it is. Because if we talk about the weather's going to change, and the weather's going to change, and they're going to be able to deal with it because they're just going to run the football. That being said, I have no reason to believe that the Bills are not. I have no reason to believe. Let me rephrase it. I have no reason to believe the Bills are a better team because they pass the ball and running is very, running is very secondary, but they still can do it at a fairly effective clip. Where when we hit January and we hit playoff time, they're going to be more effective than the Ravens because they're going to be able to be two-dimensional, or a lot more two-dimensional, because they have a passing offense. Their primary sector is their passing offense, but they still can run the ball with Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. Let's not forget Josh Allen can also do it at times too. And so if we get to a point in January where this is the AFC title game, if it is the Bills and the Ravens, which right now you would say that it is, the Bills are a much better roster because, simply put, they have better receivers that can catch the football at a more effective clip, and they have the ability to run the ball. Whereas I think Lamar and this offense is so focused on, okay, we're just going to run the ball down people's throats, which includes Lamar Jackson. If that's the case right now, then there isn't much to write home about with them when it comes to Super Bowl contendership. They're there, they're in the bubble, but they're at the bottom tier of the bubble because they don't have a passing offense when the league is entirely based on a passing offense. So that's something really worrisome, I would think, at this point for Baltimore. So they're in the bubble, but they're at the bottom tier of the bubble because they don't have a passing offense where the league is entirely. So moving forward, Packers and Bears, the I own you thing from Aaron Rodgers. I know some people have mixed feelings on it. We even had mixed feelings on it in the chat. For me, it's just kind of a heat of the moment thing, right? These players always have heat of the moment, always have emotion. But the crux of this game, honestly, for me, Packers weren't that impressive offensively. So Aaron could say that, he owns them or whatever, but let's be honest, the offense wasn't that good today. They only had, oh my God, was it 1 yard of passing offense? And I think the first quarter of this game, I don't really know what to make of the Packers. They should be in the bowl because of Aaron Rodgers, but there are times in a football game, and I get it, the Bears' defensive line, they know how to deal with the Packers. Khalil Mack made an impact in this game. Like, I get that. I understand that. But I also feel as if there is just some limitations to this team. They also don't look at the upper echelon of the Super Bowl bubble. They look also kind of in the bottom because if Aaron has a bad game, if this is any other team, if this is like any other team in the NFC, if this is Tampa Bay we're talking about instead of Chicago, Tampa wins this game easy. And they probably win it in the first half. And I think it's kind of funny that I mentioned that matchup specifically because it kind of reminds me of that NFC title game where Aaron wasn't necessarily the most effective quarterback in the last few NFC title games. That's the thing. Like, can he be efficient at times where he needs to be? Aaron Rodgers, I think he can, and I think he will be able to for most of the season. But today he wasn't necessarily the most efficient. Today he didn't make normal Aaron Rodgers throws for at least for the first half of this contest. And I think that's somewhat a cause for concern moving forward in Green Bay. Because I don't even know what their defense is right now either. That wasn't necessarily a good measuring stick. As for Chicago, Justin Fields is going to be a slow progression. And I think all these quarterbacks are going to be a slow progression. We saw that with Trey Lance. Other than Mac Jones, who we'll get to later, there's nothing that's going to be very substantial right now for Fields. And it doesn't feel like it really matters because I think we all realize now that these rookie quarterbacks are just going to slowly develop in their own way. Maybe other than Zach Wilson, who I talked about last week, and his struggles in London. And then, of course, we'll get to Mac Jones and why he's been the premier quarterback of this rookie class so far. But I think when you're looking at Fields, like, there just isn't much to write home about. He doesn't really pass an eye test, if there even is one for him right now. There's nothing there to write home about currently. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think Nagy might be potentially holding him back, but I'm not entirely sure. He went 16-27, 174, touchdown and a pick. And at least from an eye test view, there just wasn't much there. Like I couldn't say, okay, he's good at this, he's good at that. He's definitely good running the football. That's there. That element's there, and I mean that was going to be there from the start. But when you're looking at him right now, there's not much there. There just isn't. And I think it's really for these rookie quarterbacks going to be a slow progression. And you're seeing that because this year is just such a bizarre year with these rookie quarterbacks where, like Lance, okay, he's got a running ability, but I don't really know about his passing game. Fields, the passing game can be there, but he's also a running quarterback. Not much there. And then I guess we can actually switch to Mac Jones. Mac Jones, leader of this offense, has great command of the pocket. We've talked about this before. He's a perfect Patriots quarterback because he's a true pocket passer, and he plays like it, and he plays like it effectively. And then Zach Wilson, as we keep talking about with Zach Wilson, we talked about last week. He's just a deep ball thrower. He doesn't do the short, easy throws that we're seeing across the entire NFL. And has been a consistent theme for years and years and years. The quick passes. He just doesn't know how to do that, and that is so basic. So when it comes to Zach Wilson, that's the concern there. But as for guys like Lance and Fields, they're just running quarterbacks now with not much in terms of the eye test to write home about. So that's kind of my thoughts on these rookie quarterbacks through week 6. Let's move on to the Bengals and the Lions. Dan Campbell's pressers have been so interesting all season. Of course, last year he was pretty upset just because he thought his team played tremendously well, fought hard last week. Then today, he seemingly seems to expect more from Jared Goff. And I think that he's correct. I trust Campbell's judgment with that. There's such a remarkably interesting attitude with the Detroit Lions when it comes to Campbell's pressers that I think is something we need to continue to keep an eye on as we move forward towards the course of the season. Because Campbell right now, at this stage, is unlike any other coach. He really tells it like it is. And he expects his players to respond in that way. And that's really what makes him such a unique coach. That's really makes him such a honorable coach, such a tough coach. That's the thing I think that's different about Dan Campbell than other Lions coaches. He expects toughness. He expects sort of a little bit of that do-your-job Belichick mentality. But that all comes from that toughness factor, right? And when you listen to Campbell, that's so evident. And when he's expecting more out of Jared Goff, we'll see how he responds next week to those comments. But it's so rare for a coach to be so candid and transparent about his players, about his team. He's like that with the press corps, and he uses that as a motivation for his entire roster. And that's something we don't see. And I think that coaching style is a recipe for success in Detroit as this roster gets better. Like, yeah, there's a lot on Goff that he could do better, and he should have done better in this game. But let's be frank here. This offense is not that good. There's not much there's not much for Goff to work with. And I think that was shown a lot more than anything else in terms of watching the game today for the Detroit Lions. But I think Dan Campbell just really, really fits this roster, and becoming more and more impressed with him, his candidacy, his transparency, and just who he is as a coach. I talked about this last week. He's the kind of coach you want to play for, and I still believe that. I believe that even more after the Jared Goff comments at the presser today. Bengals, same thing as I always say. Bengals are a consistent powerhouse, fun offense. They still have a lot more building to do, but at this point, you're 4-2. You're looking up in that division and saying, okay, we can make the playoffs. Probably not much else, but at least we can make them. And you continue to be impressed with Burrow and Jamar Chase. That is an absolutely amazing positive. Those two is something that I just keep thinking about every week because we're watching them and we're continuing to be impressed by them. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have been a dynamic duo for a long time, and Zach Taylor has tailored this offense in the right direction. I guess pun intended there. Really, really impressive overall by the Bengals so far this season. The Colts got a blowout against the Texans. I can't believe I'm saying this, but even with Davis Mills' interceptions this week, and I think he had one last week as well, he's steadily improving as well. And we didn't talk about this on Sunday. We didn't even get a chance to talk about this during the week, during the weekday shows on Relevant. Davis Mills is starting to impress and starting to look better. This is also considering the situations that he's in, which are remarkably less than ideal. But he's playing above it a little bit, or at least he's starting to. And even if Houston only scored 3 points, there is something positive now, I think, to write home about when it comes to Davis Mills over the last 2 weeks. It's just about, can he be more consistent? And in the case of the game today, can he find a way to drive his team down the field and score points? Brandon Cooks is a huge help for that as well. On the other side, Indy, we talked about them last week. Indianapolis Colts are in an interesting spot where their division, we'll see what happens with the Titans on Monday night. The division's pretty much up for the taking, and they still kind of look like the best team in that division. But, I mean, come on. This is the Texans. Like, what are we going to really say about it? They blew a lead against Baltimore on Monday night. They're not a contender. They're not even close. I don't think anyone in the South in the NFC South, or excuse me, the AFC South, can really push themselves to say they're a contender right now. And, yeah, I mean, Carson, that was impressive, but, again, it's Houston. It's Houston. And I think T.Y. being back, he left with a quad injury at a point in that game. T.Y. being back certainly helps them. It lowers the ceiling for Michael Pittman, but it helps that overall receiving core. Other than that, continue to kind of feel the same way about the Colts as I do with the entire AFC South. They continue to really be confusing. Don't seem to have a proper identity other than, I guess, the Titans with Derrick Henry. But the Colts don't really have a proper identity. They don't really seem to have much to build on. That was evident in that loss to the Ravens last week where they blew a lead. And it still kind of felt a little bit evident today at times, even with a blowout win. Rams-Giants, another blowout win. Kind of expected. This Rams offense continues to be pushing themselves towards another corner. They still kind of start a little bit slow, but I don't think it's a cause for concern anymore. I think it's just to be expected. They know what they are. Their identity is Matthew Stafford and a high-flying offense led by Cooper Kupp as well in that receiving core and Robert Woods. They're a force. They're a force. They're a contender. They're the real deal. And we'll talk about the Arizona Cardinals as well. When it comes to that division right now, I'm starting to really love Arizona. That defense, yeah. I think, how much did they give up today? Only, 14 points? There are moments in that game where you saw that defense being lackluster. Plus, Baker wasn't fully healthy. Unfortunately, I didn't really get what I needed from the Cardinals defense. So right now, even at 6-0, I'm still more impressed by the Rams in that division than the Arizona Cardinals. They look both to be firmly entrenched in the playoff picture throughout the rest of the 2021 season. Giants, I don't know, whatever. Daniel Jones, I'm not really sure what to make of him. He can have good games. He can have bad games. He seems to be inconsistent. But there's not much to really hit home about New York in a 31-11. That's the first time we've ever had a 31-11 score in NFL history, which is pretty cool. But other than that, I'm not sure to write home about there. Talk about the Cardinals a little bit. 6-0 is good, but they're not in exactly perfect 6-0. I can't really make out what that defense is still, and I was expecting this game to kind of be that. Really wasn't that, unfortunately, because early on in that game, when they got the 14 points, it really felt like this game was going to be a shootout. But 6-0 is 6-0. They're firmly entrenched as a Super Bowl contender at this point, being 6-0, not just a playoff contender. But yeah, no, at the end of the day, sorry about my hand movement there, but at the end of the day, this is pretty simple. 37-14 win. It's simple. That offense is going to be prolific throughout the entire year, but I still want to see more on the defensive side. Cleveland, Baker's arm was in a sling today after the game. I don't expect him to play Thursday night. It'd be hard to see him play on Thursday. I mean, I don't. If he does, props to him, but that offense looked limited with him out there for most of the night. So. All right. So, Cowboys-Patriots, the best game of the afternoon. This game was fun throughout the opening bell. Bill Belichick has this uncanny ability of just kind of taking away what you're good at. Even if it is a prolific or even if it is an offense as prolific as the Dallas Cowboys. Somehow Bill Belichick is able to neutralize it, like he did against Tom Brady earlier in the year. Bill Belichick is a mastermind in figuring out your strength and taking it away. And he did that for most of this game, not all of this game. Dak also left with an injury on the final play. We'll get an update on him tomorrow. But yeah, if nothing else, that's a positive for New England. Bill Belichick is going to help neutralize whatever the offensive strength is. That will help that will help Mac Jones be successful on the offensive side because he just continues to build and build. I see Mac Jones as the Patriots starter for the next decade. I really do. He's been phenomenal all season. And let's also continue to talk about Trayvon Diggs. Big interception. Big pick six towards the end of the game. Then sort of pandemonium ensues from there. Mac Jones gets that 75-yard bomb to Kendrick Bourne, and just all craziness comes around, and all craziness just happens from there into overtime, where the Cowboys find a way to win, and just an absolute thriller. For Dallas, as long as Dak stays healthy, and we'll see what happens there, they're a contender. Didn't learn much about them other than I think their defense is still pretty lackluster, but I don't think it really matters that much in this state of the NFL. When it comes to Dallas, at 5-1 now, there's no question they're a contender. There's also no question they're the upper end of the NFC Super Bowl contenders, regardless of how that defense plays, just simply because of the rest of this league. But they're in a different gear. Like the Rams offensively feel like they're a different gear. The Cowboys also feel like they're a different gear, and it showed today as well. Raiders-Broncos. The Raiders, even with all of John Gruden stuff we talked about earlier in the week on Relevant, even with that, Derek Carr played a fantastic game. Cortland Sutton had a few big drops in this game as well for the Denver Broncos. I think we kind of get that Denver's kind of down and out at this point. As for the Raiders, Henry Ruggs on a deep ball. Getting the ball to Kenyon Drake on the outside was great today. They have the potential to be and play like this offensively the rest of the season under this sort of new branch of a coaching staff, if you will, with Gruden's departure. Maybe Gruden's departure is a positive for them, particularly offensively. It looked like it today. Just have to see it more consistently. If I see it more consistently, they're going to do stuff in this division. Particularly with how the Chargers have looked offensively. They've been great offensively, and then they really, really stalled today, mostly because of, as we've talked about, the Ravens being able to disguise pressure looks. This was the best the Ravens played in terms of getting pressure on the quarterback this season. But as for the Raiders, they got to just do it more consistently. If they do this sort of high-profile offense, great plays, dishing the ball pretty much everywhere, which Derek Carr needs to continue to do. We talked about this on opening night, or pretty much on opening night. If he continues to do that, then yeah, this offense can be something special, and they can be something to reckon with in that division. That is pretty much it for all of the games. We finished it fairly quickly. As for the Seahawks-Steelers, this was really like an 80s style football game or like early 2000s football game. Kalen and I are recapping on Relevant on Tuesday, Super Bowl 43, which is a game that our group also, the Hat Trick Sports Talk crew with Brandon and Shane, recapped a couple years ago now. And this game kind of reminded me of that game too, of just like really old style running the football. Pete Carroll is the MO of running the football. You saw that in the second half where they changed that game plan, used play action, ran the ball with Alex Collins. It changed the game. It changed the game for the Seattle Seahawks, and it still didn't get the job done because Geno Smith can only do so much. They'll have to pass the ball at points, and even if, for example, the Steelers are very much into running the ball, getting short down and distances with Najee Harris, Big Ben, regardless of what you can say about his arm, his arm actually looks a lot better the last couple of weeks. The difference is with the Seahawks or the Steelers that Big Ben can actually make the throws he needs to make. While I don't think Geno can consistently do that. He did that on Thursday night, but he's not going to do it every single week, and that's going to really hold the Seattle Seahawks back moving forward. Seattle looks pretty much out of this horse race in the NFC West. The Niners are out of that race now too, so it's certainly going to be Arizona, and it's certainly going to be Arizona and the Rams coming out of that division fairly easily. So yeah, it's tough for Seattle. As for the Steelers, like, okay, Big Ben looked a lot better tonight against a defense that is literally ranked 31st in the league. So he's throwing the ball better though. He is throwing the ball better. That's a positive. But in that, like, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do in that division. I think Cincinnati's honestly better than them. Cleveland's definitely better than them, and Baltimore is definitely better than them. I think it shows in their record so far this year. Deontay Johnson had a great night tonight. Most of this receiving core had a great night against a pretty abysmal defense. But yeah, they also look like a team that could be on the outside looking into the playoffs, just considering the talent in that division as well. Also, I do want to mention, Daryl Taylor. That was a brutal injury, man. Pittsburgh, we always, unfortunately, on big games have some really, really brutal injuries. I was thinking about the spinal injury from Ryan Shazier all these years ago. Hope Daryl Taylor's okay. I know he was taken to the hospital last week. Earlier tonight. I know he was taken to the hospital earlier tonight. My apologies. It's been a long day. I know he was taken to the hospital earlier tonight. Sorry, I'm just looking at some information here. So yeah, Daryl Taylor was stretched out. Let me see if I can find an update on him. That's what I'm looking for. But much love to him and his family. I know it's a tough time, so prayers to him and his family. He played tremendously well. He's been playing, as John Karch, my partner at Relevant, has been talking about. He's actually been playing pretty well this season. So it's sad to see. Hopefully it's not career-ending. Hopefully it's nothing too major, but we'll see over the next coming days. It did make me think about the spinal injury that Ryan Shazier had all those years ago. Hopefully it's not as bad as that. But we're ending the show on a sad note, but prayers for Daryl Taylor and his family. Definitely a tough injury. Really tough to see those moments. You love the game of football. I love the game of football so much. But those are the things that just make the game at times hard to watch. It's just seeing really, really scary and difficult moments like that. Hey, we see it every year. It's part of the game, but it is, in all honesty, the worst part of the game. And as Chris Collinsworth was talking about on the broadcast, I thought this was really powerful. He was talking about how the NFL players and coaches and everyone involved in the NFL is really a fraternity. You see that in those moments, right? Like you saw the Steelers medical staff checking on him, Seahawks medical staff checking on him, every player from the team, every coach from both, or I should say, yeah, from both teams were literally right next to Daryl Taylor. That says a lot about how amazing this league is, how much it is a beautiful game, but it's also about people too. And at the end of the day, it's a game, but it's really about people. And the last thing you ever want to see, even if it is your opponent, your quote-unquote enemy across the line from you, at the end of the day, you're all playing in the same league, all going towards the same goal, winning a Super Bowl. And at the end of the day, we're all people with personal lives outside of the game that as fans and as media, we don't always get to see from everybody. But definitely that was an empowering moment in a really, really difficult situation. And that's probably always, or not, that's exactly what it is. It's always an empowering moment. To see that, but it's also really hard to see something like that. Even considering that it's a brotherhood, it's a sisterhood, it's all of that. Just to see a player go down like that was really hard. So tough to end on that somber note, but I think it was important to acknowledge that Daryl Taylor injury. We don't want to go live during that, so I waited till after the game where once we hit overtime, but. That was definitely tough to see there. Or excuse me, not Al and Chris. It was actually Mike Tirico and Chris tonight. Al took the week off. Mike Tirico always does a phenomenal job. Maria Taylor got her first taste of Football Night in America in the regular season. She was great as well tonight for Football Night in America. Yeah, NBC's doing such a great job with their coverage this year with Drew Brees coming in as well, kind of changing up a lot of their sets and things like that. But NBC's done a great job with the coverage, as everyone has in the broadcasting realm this season especially. Shout out to Mark Sanchez as well. I've been wanting to give him a shout out on the show as well. Great commentary in the Cardinals game. Super funny, super entertaining guy. He's just a super. If you see some of the stuff he does off the field, he's just a super funny, entertaining guy. And to bring that to the booth the way he has this season, has been awesome for Fox. So, I definitely want to give him a shout out. Of the best commentary I saw today, was Mark Sanchez in the Cardinals and Browns game. So that will end the night at just around 9:51 Pacific time, 9:52. So we said we end around 10, end about 5-6 minutes earlier than expected. But seriously, thank you all for checking out our show tonight. I'll be back Monday. I'll be back tomorrow. Not sure what time we're gonna go live. We're not gonna do a post show on Relevant tomorrow. Have a fantasy football draft, have a fantasy basketball draft. Tomorrow night, but we'll probably get into it maybe midday sometime. We'll see how the schedule goes. We'll definitely go live at some point before Monday Night Football. So go on the Relevant app, go on the NFL Fanatics, and join me there with the rest of the team. So that's coming up on Monday. Tuesday with Kalen, Super Bowl 43, the best Super Bowl of the 2000s. Super Bowl has a very special place in my heart. I'll talk about why it does on Tuesday afternoon. But yeah, certainly super, super excited to do that. If you didn't catch our previous show, we did Rams and we did Rams Chiefs, the greatest regular season game of all time, and got into a really fun conversation about Washington and Texas and some of our great and super fun and funny life stories as well. So you kind of got to know us a little bit better on that episode. You get to know us a little bit better as well on the episode on Tuesday. Super excited for that. Great Super Bowl. Again, Super Bowl has a lot in my heart. I'll explain why that's the case. So Super Bowl 43. We did recap Super Bowl 43. in our rewatchable series, obviously inspired by The Ringer, all these two shows, the past game show and the rewatchable series that we did was inspired by The Ringer and Bill Simmons. So if you do want to see how I and Shane and Brandon reacted to that game when we watched it 2 years ago, definitely go check that out. I believe it's still up on Spotify, so you go check that out on there. I know it's up on the U-Wave Mixcloud still, I believe. So you can check that out and see how much my opinion has changed of that game. I'm definitely excited to hear what Ken's going to say about that game as well. I don't believe she's ever watched it, and I've watched it 3 times, so super, super excited to get her thoughts on it, as it's her first experience watching it. We're going to go back in time a lot, too. We're doing Seahawks and Niners coming up, 2013 NFC Championship game, and then we're going to go way back to the Immaculate Reception game, Super Bowl 10. So super excited for those upcoming past game show episodes. Keep an eye out on that, on Relevant. I'll be live on Tuesday night there, and then, of course, back here on Sunday with the rest of the Hat-Trick Sports Talk crew to recap Week 7. So I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you with the rest of the crew back here next Sunday. Have a wonderful night, everyone.